Gut feeling was right. I recently found out my husband cheated, lied, and gave me an STI 14 years ago. Together 16 years, married 7. I, 35F, suspected for years that my husband, 39M, cheated on me during a 12-week work trip a couple of years into our relationship. It's been this sick, nagging feeling I've had for so long. There was a photo of him dancing with a woman, and he was evasive on calls during that time. Any time I'd bring it up, he'd shut me down immediately, act hurt, and make me feel like I was paranoid and jealous. I convinced myself not to ruin us with hypotheticals and paranoia. Turns out my gut was right, and I wish more than anything that it hadn't been. Now I'm questioning everything and, looking back, I don't know how I ignored or missed so many red flags. Long story, we met when I was 18, just starting uni, and he was 23 living in our hometown. Because we only saw each other on weekends, I don't think I had the chance to see the cracks properly. Everything felt good on the surface, he was my best friend, we clicked, we had so much in common, but he was unromantic and emotionally stunted, and intimacy was an issue from the start. The sex issues were a constant thread. If I didn't bring up that we hadn't had sex in 6 to 8 months, nothing would happen. And when I did bring it up, he'd be affectionate for about a week before it went back to nothing. I tried to be understanding because he'd say he forgets about sex or doesn't think about it, and as a multiple SA survivor, the last thing I ever wanted to do was pressure him. He'd slept around loads before we met, and so had I, no judgment, but it did make me wonder what was wrong with me. Still, I told myself sex wasn't the core of everything, and the rest of the relationship felt good for the most part. I did all the emotional and romantic labor, birthdays, anniversaries, date nights. If I didn't plan something, it didn't happen, and every time I'd finally reach breaking point and tell him how neglected I felt, he'd cry, beg, promise to change. After I graduated, 3 years in, and moved in with him, the long-distance excuses dropped and the issues were just everyday life. Then around year 4, we stopped preventing pregnancy and later actively started trying. After a few years of no success, we began fertility investigations. That's when I found out I had chlamydia. It's around 8 years into our relationship at this point that I confronted him again about cheating. He swore he hadn't and made me feel awful for even asking, told me it must have been before we got together, told me it could have been me who gave it to him. I'd been tested and was clean before we met. He told me he had been tested and was clean too, because he'd recently been treated right before our relationship. Huge red flag in hindsight, but I believed him because he made it sound so reasonable and I felt ashamed and guilty it could have been me, because I'd slept with my ex, with condoms, the night we met. Anyway, we got treated. A year later we conceived our first son. I let myself trust him again. Fast forward to the present. This year everything had been improving after I gave him an ultimatum 18 months ago to work on our relationship or consider separation. He had to show real effort, intimacy, prioritizing us, therapy. Both of us vowed to work on our stuff. Things were going okay, our sex life, intimacy, and communication improved a lot. But things began piling up again when he missed our anniversaries and half-arsed my birthday. He spent months planning an overnight biking trip with a mate, but forgot our 16-year anniversary and our wedding anniversary. The biking trip was the same week as our wedding anniversary, and the weekend before my birthday. He worked my birthday and booked a restaurant he knows I don't like, but he always books there for team meets or meeting old workmates because it's easy. He also plans team-away trips and things months in advance, so I was feeling like, how come you can do that but not plan something for my birthday? It's not just me, our kids, 5 and 7, have been saying things like, Daddy loves his phone more than me because he's on it all the time messaging his teammates in their Facebook page and WhatsApp groups. Back to the cheating, it was actually Lily Allen who wore him down enough to confess. When her latest album came out, I listened to it a lot at home, and the next day we were in the car with him and my 2 friends. We were doing like an album review and had a chat about infidelity, and something in my brain snapped back to the work trip. I realized I still can't even look at that part of the map without feeling sick. That night I told him, I'm going to ask you something and you're going to tell me the truth, no more bullshit. He agreed. I said, I know you cheated on that work trip a couple of years into our relationship, tell me what happened. He cried and confessed he kissed the woman from the photo. I asked if anything else happened, he said no. A few days later I asked again, because I didn't fully believe him. This time he admitted it was sex, just once. I asked again how many times he'd cheated, because he was basically living with her for 12 weeks and no way was it just once. He paused for over a minute. Eventually he said, maybe 2 times. Later, when I caught him off guard mid-conversation, he said 2 or 3. A few nights ago he finally admitted the full list. Sex with 3 women, one at the very start of our relationship, the weekend he first told me he loved me. The woman on the work trip. Another woman on his friend's sofa months after the work trip. Countless messages to different women, kissing people in clubs, etc., which all went on for just the first 3 years of our relationship, whilst I was at uni. He swears everything stopped when I graduated uni 13 years ago and the woman. And then came the part that floored me. I asked if there was any chance the work trip woman might have had his baby. She lived across the country, at a different branch. He immediately said no. I asked how he'd even know that. After pushing, he finally admitted she messaged him months after the trip to tell him he'd given her chlamydia. He kept that to himself for 4 years while we struggled with infertility. He knew he had chlamydia. He was trying for a baby with me for years knowing full well he'd been exposed. When we finally got tested and found out, he lied again and made me feel like I was the one bringing old paranoia into our relationship. The sheer betrayal of that, I can't describe it. He didn't just cheat, he put my health at risk, he put our future kids at risk, he denied it all so convincingly that I questioned myself, blamed myself, and carried guilt I never should have had. Now, he's acting like a brand new person, calling me beautiful, being sexual, flirty, affectionate, touchy. Everything I begged for over the years suddenly appears overnight now that the truth is out. I'm not proud of it, but after years of crumbs I still find myself leaning into it because I love him and I'm exhausted. But I don't know who he is anymore, I don't know if anything he says is true. I feel betrayed, embarrassed, trapped, and completely lost. I don't know what the next step even looks like.
Relevant comments. Life, Bullfrog, 6344. Are you both in couples counseling? His betrayal is on so many levels. It does sound like he disclosed everything eventually, which suggests that he now respects you enough to be honest and vulnerable, but he sure treated you horribly for years. Why is he finally deciding to be honest? What changed in him? Does he even know what love and commitment look like? Is he sincerely remorseful for the pain he caused you? Can he even become a safe partner after years of emotional, mental, and sexual abuse? You've got a lot to process. I can totally understand why you might be so conflicted. That's a long history together. It sounds like you genuinely love him, but he was unworthy of your love. He took advantage of your trust. Whether you stay or leave will take lots of courage and strength, but your relationship is at a crossroads. Take your time. Give yourself some space to sort out your feelings and determine what you want and whether he's capable of giving you the love you deserve. Do not let worries over your children interfere in your decision. I always believe children take their cues from their parents. If the parents are confident and at peace, the children will be too. Right now focus on your healing, reclaim your identity, love yourself and do what's best for your well-being right now. Surround yourself with people who love you no matter what. Wishing you better days.
OP. WTF am I doing? No, we're not in couples therapy, yet. He said that listening to the Lily Allen album and hearing me and my friends talk about it and our views on infidelity finally ate away at him. Part of me believes him that he's told me everything, because at this point why lie? But at the same time I still feel like I don't know if I can believe a word he says, because it's like he has the same script he uses over and over. I think what's changed is me. I've done a lot of personal therapy over the last 5 years and I'm getting back on my feet after struggling with chronic illnesses for several years now. This might have been his last-ditch attempt to prove something to me? I really don't know. It's like drawing blood from a stone, getting him to talk about himself without crying and saying he's an awful person. Until I sat and wrote this all out, I didn't really think about whether I'd consider it abusive, but now I'm seeing things in a different light. Thank you. I've got a lot of work to do.